On today's Locked On Thunder podcast, the Oklahoma City Thunder run the Memphis Grizzlies out of the gym with a fourth quarter avalanche. Aaron Wiggins was huge. SGA continues to build out his MVP case and so much more.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. Email the show, LOThunderPod@gmail.com. On today's show, we're diving into the Oklahoma City Thunder continuing its winning streak, beating the Memphis Grizzlies in a ESPN game with an avalanche-like run here in the second half. The defense bounced back in a big way. SGA continues his MVP case and a lot more with Brandon Rahbar. DailyThunder.com, 1077 The Franchise, OKC Dream Team. Brandon, how you doing today?
Doing well. Just got done watching a great basketball game. This was a fun one. ESPN, yeah, and the Thunder without Chet Holmgren, I thought were a lot of fun to watch. I just thought it was a fun basketball game. There was like so much going on between Taylor Jenkins, and his, fun time with the refs, Shai's 40-piece, Aaron Wiggins saving basketball. I just thought it was a fun basketball game. I'm glad this one was on ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, this one lived up to the hype. Like you enter this stretch for the Thunder, and a team that I think is fair to say, Brandon, they've been a little bit bored, it appears, with their defensive lapse since the All-Star break, playing some uninspiring teams. Even Houston's a playoff team, but Monday they sure were not with all of their injuries. So this was a game that felt like it had juice. You know, you have a Memphis team that's lost 3 straight, trying to get back in the winning ways. Ja Morant returns on the road, national television, and the Thunder treated it as such. I mean, this was one of their best defensive starts and best defensive games we've seen. I think it's the best defensive effort we've seen since the All-Star break, and it just illustrated what the formula can be, and it's another way the Thunder can win, where this game, they weren't clicking. The Thunder weren't offensively for the majority of the contest, but their defense was able to generate really easy points. It was able to hang them around in the game, keep the game within a puncher's reach in either direction with a Thunder lead, with a Grizzlies lead. The Grizzlies never led by more than 4. There were 8 lead changes, 7 ties, like a back and forth game. And then with that defense playing so consistently well, eventually, your offense did turn it on. You gained a 21-point advantage in the fourth quarter, and you won 120-103. So I thought that the defensive model, for all the concerns, all the questions since the All-Star break, they really showed you that they still have their fastball. It's just a very long season.
It is a long season, and we saw before the All-Star break, this was a historic defense, and I know that there is some concern because the defense hasn't been playing up to par, at least up to this team's standards as of late. So it was nice to see in a game that mattered, and this was the Thunder's 8th game in 13 nights. So this is a brutal stretch schedule-wise of games. It's easily a game on the road. You know, they could have not brought their full effort, but because of the circumstances, it being against, one of the top seeds in the West on national TV, Ja being back, and the Grizzlies, obviously, like you said, taking this game very seriously. The Thunder brought it tonight, holding the Grizzlies to 103 points tonight. They had 10 steals tonight, kind of vintage Thunder, hands everywhere tonight. And they did this without Chet and Caruso. So it was nice to see not only was the defense back, but they were able to do this without 2 of their very best, if not their best, defenders.
Yeah, I mean, no Chet, no Caruso, and they still turned it up to this level. And I think that in this game, I mean, the differences at times were just the 2 superstars on the floor. Like the 2 best players for each team, Shai, 41 points, Ja Morant, 24 points on 36% shooting and a -21, while SGA was a +19 in his minutes and shot 56% from the floor. Ja Morant was really bad on both ends, offensively, defensively, uninspiring night from him. A lot of complaining, not a lot of production. I thought that Lou Dort did a really good job on Ja. Ludort did not play well offensively, but even in this offensive slump from him and offensive struggle, 1 for 7 tonight, he was still a plus 35 in the box score, which is so strange to see. But SGA, Brandon, the MVP race, I think it's one of the most interesting races we've ever had in the NBA, just because I can't really tell you that Jokic doesn't have a strong MVP case. I think he does. I think if you vote for Jokic, it's not a bad vote. It's not a vote worthy of criticism. I think it would be a vote that changed the NBA, because we've never just kind of handed the MVP trophy to the best player in the league over and over and over again. And so if you do that, how are you ever going to stop voting for Jokic? Because he's going to do these same things next year. Whereas Shai, this guy is an all-time great scorer. This guy has brought the Thunder to a record here where they're 11 games up on the number 2 seed. They've been the only constant in the Western Conference. You've seen teams go from 2 to 5, 2 to the 7, into the play-in, out of the play-in. You've seen teams go from the play-in to the number 2 seed. You've seen the Western Conference consistently shift, except for at the top, and that's because of SGA, because of his availability every game, because of his production every game, and because of games like this where he came in the fourth quarter after a Memphis 7-0 run and he took it over. I mean, the Grizzlies kind of felt good about themselves in that final frame, getting it down to a 3-point game, and the Thunder end up getting a 21-point lead, really on the back of what Shai can do.
Shai's the MVP. He's just the MVP. To your point, if you're going to give it to Jokic, you're just giving it to Jokic because you think he's the best player in the NBA. I get it. His raw numbers are ridiculous. That's just what he does. But after Russell Westbrook got the triple-double for a whole season, nobody really cared much the next few seasons. I'm not saying that, Russ's follow-up seasons to that triple-double season were MVP worthy or what Jokic is doing. I'm not saying that, but it kind of lost some of the luster. But with Jokic, for whatever reason, I get it. People just want to hand it to him. Why then wouldn't Michael Jordan have 10 MVPs?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't
exactly
LeBron
right.
have 8 or 9 MVPs if that's what we're doing? Shai this season has been unbelievable. He's leading the NBA in scoring. He's averaging 4 more points per game than Jokic is. He's averaging more steals. He's averaging more blocks as a guard, by the way, versus a center. He's averaging less turnovers. He's on a team that has an 11-game lead and has half as many losses as the Nuggets do. And he plays 2 ways. He plays defense and offense. He's elite both ways. And, Jokic is, let's be generous and say he's a neutral defender on that end.
Yeah.
So all that said, are you telling me that 4 more assists and 7 more rebounds, covers up all the difference in the standings and the win-loss record, and the fact that he's already won a few, and that Shai plays elite defense as well? I just don't think a handful of assists and rebounds, especially as a center, make up that difference.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that Shai should be the MVP, and this was a showcase game for him. Now, the beautiful thing about this stretch, Brandon, not only is it a stretch that I think will get the defense playing back to its normal self, and then it started tonight, and this is something that I wrote about for Thunder and SI, talked about on this show. This week is going to naturally bring you energy. For one, you're going to get to return home, and so you're going to finally have an elongated homestand for the first time in a month. And in that homestand, you're going to play Portland, who is a team that now has a legitimate play-in shot with Dallas's injuries. And they're already a scrappy team that plays hard every single night. And then Denver twice, which is a showcase for the MVP race between Shai, Jokic, and that back-to-back. And then when you hit the road again, you have a stretch here where you play 7 of your 7 games upcoming, including tonight, 6 of them playoff teams. That's going to naturally bring out the best in this Thunder team, kind of have one last push of a litmus test before you head into the postseason. So I think that the defense will be back, but I think that also this can be a week where Shai puts the MVP conversation to rest. Because if you go out there and dominate Denver twice with all eyes on you, the ABC Sunday afternoon game Sunday, and then the NBA TV game Monday, I think that he's won the award if that's the case.
It's a wrap. If the Thunder sweep those games, it's a wrap. Shai's winning. Shai's firmly in the lead. If you look at betting odds, if you look at straw polls from actual voters. He's in the lead. All he has to do is win those 2 games, and I think that it's a wrap for sure. If they split, I think that, things stay the way that they are, and Shai continues to build the momentum and will continue to be the favorite. Now, if the Nuggets were to sweep both of those games, then I think, maybe for some voters that needed a tiebreaker or were undecided, that would sway probably some votes if the Thunder were to drop both of those to the Nuggets, and if Jokic were to outplay Shai in those games. I think that that's the one way things could, go different as far as what they are right now. As it stands right now, I think that Shai is firmly in the lead and should be in the lead. And if they at least split those games, it's his to lose. And if they sweep them, it's a wrap.
Yeah, so I mean, this game, like the biggest takeaways in our first 2 segments, the defense back showed you that they can still get back their fastball and dominate a game. Like this win was really built on the back of its defense. And then Shai, it's an MVP showcase for him tonight, and he dominated. Follows up a 51-point game with a 41-point game. There's not much more to say about the consistency of his elite scoring and the consistency of his high-quality defense. Coming up, let's talk J. Will. Let's talk Aaron Wiggins. Let's talk the contributors in this win for OKC. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at BetterHelp. Go check out BetterHelp today, because with the support system that you have, we all need people to lean on, whether it's friends or families, mentors, professionals. Everyone needs strong leaders around them. And it's okay to also ask them to help you and to feel better. And so the best way to build that strong support system is not to just hold it all in during tough times. You want to let things out and express yourself with therapy, but therapy can also be there not just during those hard times, but to also help you set up boundaries, develop coping skills, become a better version of who you are. So therapy can always benefit you in your everyday life. Therapy is not just about those crisis moments. It's about using it as a tool for self-improvement, stress management, navigating life's challenges. Go check it out today by building up your support system with BetterHelp. Just visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Go there right now. It's great. It's totally online, totally around your schedule. And you can go check them out today at betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA right now. We're back on Locked On Thunder Podcast, on Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Talking with Brandon Rahbar, dailythunder.com, 1077 The Franchise. Brandon, the Thunder got a big win over the Memphis Grizzlies. They have one more game against the Grizzlies, but this secured the season series for OKC. 21 was their biggest lead. They lose the rebounding battle 55-46, but they forced 15 turnovers and only turned it over 11 times themselves. A decently high number for OKC just in general game to game, but still 15-11, you'll take that margin. And then the Thunder shot 50% from the floor against a really good Memphis defense. So making half your shots is impressive. Hitting 41% from 3 on the road against a good defense is very impressive. And then second chance points went to Memphis in a big way, 12-3. So did fast break points, surprisingly, winning it by 5. And then points in the paint really evened up as Isaiah Hartenstein really got going inside. But I thought that the Thunder's front court deserved a lot of credit for this game. Down Chet Holmgren, you saw Jalen Williams come off the bench, hit 4 threes for 13 points and 4 defensive rebounds. He even got 2 blocks and should have had a third because the Memphis Grizzlies got called for an illegal screen that honestly was not an illegal screen, so it took away J. Will blocks that he should have had. But man, what a night from J. Will to step up in this game.
This is great to see. And, those early buckets he hit were big too, because, obviously the Thunder ended up winning this in kind of blowout fashion, but the game was much closer than that earlier in the game. And J. Will hit timely buckets.
The no dip 3 on the kick out, man, that was special from Shai.
I still call that the AMO 3 for the OG Thunder fans. It still reminds me of Anthony Morrow, the no dip. So good to see J. Will one hit like this. But then 2 to get his flowers. I love that SGA took the mic from Nick Gallo post game and said, that's the real Jalen Williams, a callback to Summer League a couple of years ago when a post game interviewer called J-Dub the real Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I mean the J Will J Dub stuff. It still goes on today, which is just uh, infuriating for those two, I'm sure. But I thought that J Will. I mean, this is a guy who you look at the Brooklyn game, you look at even Monday's game, that they've had to go to in these situations where the defense has waned. Because when the defense wanes, it's not a lack of talent because we've seen this team dominate with its talent all season long, except for these 7 games post All Star break. It's been a lack of engagement, a lack of energy, a lack of effort, whatever you want to kind of phrase it as. And the one thing about Jay Will is he's going to bring you the energy. He's going to bring you the effort. He's going to compete his butt off every single night. That competitive gear is always there with Jay Will. And then it becomes infectious. And so, yes, do guys scoring him at the rim with ease? Yes, typically they do. Tonight, he did a really good job contesting at the rim. He got what should have been 3 blocks, but even besides that, he did a good job of contesting shots even whenever they would go in. But look, he can't magically grow, right? So every time he's your backup center, you're going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage in rim protection because he can't magically shoot up to being 6'11", 7 feet tall. But he has gotten better at positioning. He has gotten better at technique, but it's still, again, not going to help you out a ton because of his size. However, when he's giving you this level of energy and when he's hitting shots like this on the other end, you can see how he's a positive player, especially to make it through an 82-game season. Now, should you play him playoff minutes, it's a whole different story. We've talked about the idea of him being an 82 guy, not a 16-game guy. The 16-game guy, the common phrase about who you can trust in the playoffs. But the one thing that you have to give credit to Jay Will about, no matter what, above all else, is his effort level. He brought it tonight. He got rewarded with 4 threes and a couple driving kicks. So really happy to see that for Jay Will, who was able to impact this game for OKC. And then you had Ousmane Dieng come in, and he didn't block Zach Edey, but he certainly altered the shot and forced the miss on Zach Edey. Comes down the other end, knocks in a 3. Ous has been a solid contribution giver for OKC here in these last couple of games.
And a reminder about Oos, he's still 21 years old. He's still younger than some of the guys that are going to be rookies in this upcoming NBA draft in 2025. And he has shown flashes. I thought he was good tonight. That stop on Edey. Edey is 7'4". Ousmane Dieng was a point guard for most of his life until he had that growth spurt a few years ago and got up to 6'10" or 6'11" or whatever it is right now. So I thought it was great. Then he goes down and hits the 3 on the other end. He had a nice run out dunk as well. So some good Oos minutes, some good J Will minutes. It's nice to see these guys like J Will and Oos who aren't, in the rotation every night. Their minutes are sporadic, especially when this team is healthy and they have all their guys. But, spotlight, ESPN game on the road, they come in and they play really well. Thunder centers today had 10 blocks, and Chet didn't even play. J Will with 2, should have been 3. Hartenstein had 1, and old Brandon Carlson had 7 blocks today in the G League.
Brandon Carlson played in a much louder arena today than Jay Will did because it was field trip day in the Paycom Center. So it was obviously extremely loud for that G League game. And those 7 blocks probably got the crowd on their feet as well. But yeah, Jay Will and Oos really filling in that front court. Good minutes by them. I thought that Kinrich obviously didn't have his best stuff. Like he didn't log a single stat except for a foul in 12 minutes. But we've seen over the course of this week more good than bad from Kinrich, but it's just a all-in effort when you deal with the injuries to Caruso, the injuries to Chet that hold them out. We did see Isaiah Joe get back from injury. He went 2 for 6 from 3. A nice game, I would say. It wasn't like a banner night for Isaiah Joe, but coming off of back soreness, a nice game to ease him in. I think he did hit those couple threes, which were timely threes, while it wasn't some massive number.
Yeah, so it was just nice to have Isaiah Joe back, especially with Caruso out. We knew coming into the game that Caruso was going to be out and that Wiggins was a game-time decision. Obviously, Wiggins played, and we'll talk about him, I'm sure, here in a second. But just good to see Isaiah Joe out there. He's such an X factor for the team. He provides such valuable minutes. And, yeah, he scores 8 points on 3 of 7 shooting. I thought that the 1-3 he had in the corner was such a classic Isaiah Joe shot. Gets him up so quickly, and you just have to respect him. When he's out there, he just spaces the floor for everybody. He makes everybody more of a threat just by his mere presence, because you have to respect his 3-point shooting. And he's got such a gravity to him, which is wild because, gravity is usually, stars in the league, but Isaiah Joe and those elite, 3-point specialists, they provide a gravity of their own as well.
They certainly do. And coming up, we're going to talk about J-Dub, Hartenstein, and more about this Thunder Avalanche run in the fourth quarter coming up. But first, I want to say right now about our good friends over at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel today because when the games tip off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you're missing the opening tip and want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action with FanDuel. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine the live bets into same game parlays and get even more money. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins just by visiting FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com to get your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and you can bet on NBA games even tonight. While the Thunder have an off night, you can still go check out that Rockets-Pelicans game, where the Rockets are only 4.5-point favorites in New Orleans at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Lockdown Thunder podcast, on the Lockdown Podcast Network, your teams every day, here with Brandon Rahbar, dailythunder.com, and OKC Dream Team, where you can find me and him over there as well. Brandon, I thought that Isaiah Hartenstein, like it was just a fun game to see him battle it out with Zach Edey down low, banging bodies in the post, 10 points, 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 assists, 3 steals, 1 block, and he made 55% of his shots. Whenever his floater missed, it felt like the first 3 times, and then he went on a run there with that floater. What did you see from Hartenstein in this game, trying to kind of a unique matchup going up against Edey?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up and mentioned his stats. I just realized I didn't tweet at all about Hartenstein tonight, and I owe the man a tweet at least. He had a really good game, 10 and 15, and he gets those 15 rebounds going against a dude that's 7'4" and Edey. And I thought he played good defense as well. I mean, 3 steals at 1 block, 4 stocks from Hartenstein. He was a plus 17. And like you said, what I thought was impressive about Hartenstein, he missed those first few floaters. Like that's his money shot. It's such a cheat code shot, and he misses those, but he didn't give up on them. He kept going back to it, and then he couldn't miss. He hit like his next 4 floaters after he missed those first 3. So Hartenstein, I thought, had a really, really good game, and you just made me realize it. So thank you for that. You know, he was really, really good tonight. It's so funny because Hartenstein is a true 7-footer, and he's not only a 7-footer, but he's a thick dude. He's a strong dude. Yeah. And not many guys can make him look small. Like Wemby is one, and then Edey tonight was one as well. But Hartenstein, you know, he gave up the inches, but he outplayed Edey tonight for sure. That look.
Yeah, you know, it's really about how you use it. You know, it's about how you use the size and the functionality of it. And Hartenstein was able to be functional on the court with his game. J-Dub had 20 points, 5 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and a block. I thought you saw a little bit of both from J-Dub today. You saw his growth points, where he, in the first half, got downhill really well, got to the rim really well. And I think that his pacing continues to improve as a passer and as a scorer. I think that you're seeing, though, like as he is getting to the rim better, as he is getting to his spots more, the next evolution for him is the same that Shai had to go through, the same that every good scorer has to go through, is figuring out, like, you know, you're using your Euro step, for example, to get from one side of the lane to the other side of the lane and try to get a layup off. You can also, with his frame, just go ahead and use your shoulder. Just bump into a guy, knock him off his spot, create space that way. Be more aggressive with the ball in your hands as a contact initiator while staying on balance and finishing through that contact. So he's been getting to his spots with the finesse lately. You want to see him get to his spots more with just pure strength, and I think that that's a part of his game that, again, he showed last year. He's shown in flashes this year that once that becomes more sustainable, then you unlock an even bigger step. And Caruso is going to be on the Old Man in the 3 podcast today, and the clip that they put out to kind of tease the episode what was him talking about how the scariest part about this Thunder team is they're not a finished product. They can still get better. And like, these are the little ways that, while it sounds like we're picking apart these little tiny details, if these little tiny details come together, then he gets even better and the team gets even better. And you just see how this all could spiral into something so special with all the little things stacking up over time. And I think that that's the next little thing for J-Dub, is figuring out how to maximize his strength offensively, because man, he maximizes his frame and body and strength defensively so well.
Yeah, he really does. I think it's a testament to how good J-Dub's been lately that he can have 20 points tonight, 7 to 17, and it felt like a down night for him offensively. That's 6 straight games now. He scored 20 or more from J-Dub, but he continues to find other ways to impact the game. He was only 1 of 6 from 3 tonight. I thought they were all good looks. If 1 or 2 more of those go in, it looks like a really good offensive night. But he too, I thought, hit some timely buckets, but he impacts the game in other ways. Like, he had 9 assists tonight. He was the Thunder's best playmaker tonight, the leading assist man tonight. 2 steals, 1 block, so 3 stocks from him. Defensively, every single night, the versatility, how he can guard up and down. He always makes an impact that way. So, even on a night where he's 7 to 17, I think that his fingerprints are all over the game still, and he was still a plus 21, one of the best plus minuses on the team. So yeah, J-Dub also got to the line, shot 5 free throws tonight. So that's a continued, you talk about his improvement and how he can get better and better. And that was one of the big talking points with J-Dub early on in the season. Like, he needs to get to the free throw line more. It'll help with his efficiency. It'll help with his offensive game. And I think that trend has continued, and that's been a big point for him as we head down the stretch.
Yeah, and I mean, off the top of my head, don't take this for gold, but I believe Sunday against the Spurs in that 41-point game, it was 7 free throws. I'm like pretty sure Monday was 6 free throws, and then today he got to the line 5 times. So the 5 and up trend has happened the last 3 nights, and that's been on the back of him being more aggressive to get to the rim instead of settling for mid-range jumpers or being more passive away from the ball. And so now you just continue to build off that. He's gotten that part, and then you keep coupling traits with him. But you're right. You do not get this win without J-Dub. And he could have had an even bigger night if just a simple bounce of the rim goes differently on some of these threes, because they were all really clean looks for the most part. And then the passing. Like, the passing has been the biggest trend, and that's what I'm talking about whenever we talk about pace, of how to lead that secondary unit whenever you're on the ball, to set guys up, get them open looks. That's part of being the second option as well. It's not just about scoring and being the second option whenever you have those Shai-less minutes in the playoffs, however few there may be during a playoff game. And he's shown he can really help you on the ball in those instances. Aaron Wiggins, though, quite literally saved basketball tonight, because he did get a save to SGA. He runs the floor off that save, gets the ball back, and redirects it to Isaiah Joe for a corner 3. But Aaron Wiggins had 16 points with plus 20 tonight. He ends up with 3 assists. He has a rebound and a steal to go along with 3 for 4 shooting from 3 and 66% shooting from the floor. Brandon, Aaron Wiggins has truly turned a corner as a reliable 3-level scorer for OKC. And I think he's gotten slightly better defensively as well.
Yeah, so he comes in, he checks in, immediately hits the Thunder's first 3 of the night. And I thought what was big with Aaron Wiggins tonight was the most important stretch of the game was that fourth quarter. The Thunder had a big lead going into the fourth quarter, and the Grizzlies immediately rattle off a run, and they get it to within 91 to 85. Then Aaron Wiggins hits a 3. Then I can't remember who, I think it was maybe Isaiah Joe hits a 2, and then Aaron Wiggins hits another 2. And all of a sudden the Thunder go on a run, and Wiggins was responsible for 5 of those first 7. I think that was the biggest stretch of the game, because if there's any doubt that maybe the Grizzlies were going to creep back into it and make it a fight, they made their push. Aaron Wiggins pushed back. And so he saved the game, I thought, tonight, and he literally did the meme in live action by saving basketball. So kind of chef's kiss night for Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah, the fourth quarter, I mean, when that Grizzlies team went on that 7-0 run, and everything felt tighter. The arena got louder. The Thunder felt tighter. It was a mixture of Shai coming back in. He had 9, but Wiggins had 10 in the fourth quarter, 2 for 2 from 3 in that frame. And it was just a steadying presence for this Thunder offense, which they're going to need. Brandon, I just, it's not a reaction to this one game. It's just another game that makes you feel this way. How special can this really be in OKC? I mean, This is going to be, I think, a very long season. I think we're just getting started covering this team for how deep of a run this can be into the summer.
They are 51-11. All they have to do, Rylan, is go 500 the rest of the way, and they will break the all-time Thunder record for most wins in a season. I mean, we're talking about a KD, Russ, James Harden team. We're talking about a team that went to the finals, 4 Western Conference finals, that had a dominant era that is revered for good reason because it was such an incredible young team. And this team, all they have to do is go 500 to break that. So, yeah, I think the way things are shaping up, this team getting Chet back was such a huge piece of the puzzle. Shai somehow continues to get better. Like, even as the season continues, he's getting better. Like, he started the season, coming in as 2-time All-NBA first team, number 2 in MVP voting. So his baseline was top 2 MVP candidate, and he's just gotten better throughout the season. He's flirting with 50, 40, 90 territory. J-Dub's an all-star now. The team is shooting better than anybody in the NBA since January 1st from 3. And then we see a reminder tonight that, when they want to be, they can be the best defense in the NBA. So I think that we're going to see a nice stretch in the postseason from this Thunder team.
I mean, whenever you see Shai these last 2 nights, like, one of the things that instantly jumped out to me is just there's a 5th grader, there's a 7th grader, there's a 10th grader that fully believes that Shai's better than Russ and KD, and like this is going to be their guy. This is going to be like this entire state's younger generation is going to continue to make the case for Shai to be the best player in Thunder history. And it's really tough to push back on that notion. I mean, at the end of the day, none of them have won a title yet. And Shai, what he's doing, the efficiency, the scoring, it's just unbelievable. And who would have thought on the day that the Paul George trade went down, that in that trade included a guy who, right, wrong, or different, I'm not here to pick apart which of the three's better, but he has a legitimate case. He has a legitimate case that a new generation is going to be able to argue for years to come, and their guy being the best guy, just as we do for LeBron versus Jordan, kind of a localized debate like that, because Shai's so awesome, and he was awesome tonight. And we'll see what happens with the Trailblazers. Don't sleep on that Trailblazers game. I know we want to get to the Denver set. I know we want to get to the Boston game, but I like this spunky little Blazers team, Brandon. We're going to be there. We're going to be excited for that game.
That Blazers team, who wants that 10th spot, that play-in spot in the West? Like the Mavs, hug a Mavs fan if you know any Mavs fans. Just feel bad for them at this point, truly. I don't. They're going to lose a lot of games here. They're going to probably try to do what they did with Derek Lively and get a lottery pick. I don't know. The Blazers have as good a chance as anybody. The Suns have such a brutal schedule. So this Blazers team that we're going to see in OKC on Friday night, they've been playing well. They play hard. They fight. They've got some great defenders, especially Toumani Camara. This Blazers team is better than expected going into the season. And they're not just going to come in Friday night and give up that game. They're going to fight. The Thunder are going to have to take it.
And now, like, I imagine this young team's going to have that sense of belief of, okay, this is a real possibility. I mean, people forget that, like, part of how the Thunder got into the play-in, on top of them just having a really good season, was the Mavericks bowing out for draft pick because it was a top 10 protected pick that they had with New York in that Thunder play-in year. And now, like, it just becomes more open for them, where you get past the Thunder, you get Thunder, Pistons, Warriors, Knicks for them. But once you clear that stretch, you have Raptors and Wizards to go make up for that and bank some games in. You still have the Hawks. You still have the Raptors again, Bulls, Spurs, Jazz. Like, you have all these teams where the Trailblazers can really bank up some wins, to where if they just pull off an upset or two, like a single upset or two, they're going to be able to get into the dance. And so you have to take that game seriously on the court if you're OKC, because that team will come in here and have a lot to say come Friday night. But the Thunder, they're just so awesome that, there's no like on paper reason the Thunder should lose that game Friday. Like that's how great they are. It would just come down to like self-inflicted wounds and things like that of not taking a team seriously, which, to the Thunder's credit, you can say what you want to about the defensive lapses. They still found the ways to win those games. Like, yeah, they weren't up for the Brooklyn game. They weren't up for the Atlanta game or up for the Spurs game. They still won. And so, like, I think that will be possibly the story that we see on Friday.
The only way I could see the Thunder winning this is because they've beaten the Blazers now 15 times in a row, Rylan. So just mathematically, just like the odds say at some point, the Blazers got to beat them. They got to get one. The 15 in a row is nuts. So just law of probability would be the biggest reason I would say the Blazers could pull the upset. But the Thunder at home, especially when they have at least one big playing, have been dominant. As a matter of fact, they're still undefeated in OKC when at least Chet or Hartenstein start and finish a full game.
Yes, that is true. And I think that you can throw out those qualifiers, if I'm not mistaken, and just say they're undefeated at home every non-Monday with a big. Because I think that November 10th was a Monday, right?
I think
no, it was a Sunday. Dang it.
Oh, was
We're
it a Sunday?
off.
Okay.
Dang it. But anyway, Brandon, thank you for joining us. Go find him, dailythunder.com, Brandon Rahbar on Twitter, OKC Dream Team for the both of us. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.